Fire. What's the word, man?
Man, it's been a hell of a week, but happy we survived, brother.
Yeah, man. It's like that right now, man.
Yeah,
It's like that. And then we in the first week of summer.
yeah, yeah,
Summer
yeah,
has
yeah.
started officially.
Right.
I guess we got to give a obligatory shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Congrats on them. They
Yeah,
did win. They did win. I know we've been having conversations about superstars and all of that. It still seems to be a little debate, a little more consensus that SGA is a superstar, but I don't know, man. Canada got to earn a little bit more from me before I'm just like superstar. It's the difference between being a finals winner and a superstar to
and a superstar. I think that he at least can now start the superstar conversation in
me.
good
Absolutely.
earnest.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
There's only a small handful of like young emerging superstars in the league. He's
yeah.
definitely one of them, though.
I want him to go. We need a tight Canadian to go to Toronto.
That would be hard.
Like
That
that's what
would
we
be
need.
hard.
We
Yeah,
need
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
to want to take the franchise on and take on the city and the culture in a way like Vince Carter did. You know what I mean? Like
Right. That would
an
be cool.
ambassador.
Yeah, that would be cool if he actually did go back to Toronto and did that.
Yeah,
That's the type of globalization I want to see more of from the league.
yeah.
For sure. Especially when Toronto got the youngins out there saying fuck when they get drafted.
You know what I'm saying?
That's embarrassing for a
That's
franchise.
embarrassing for a franchise, you
Yeah,
know. But yeah, shout out to them. It was a good NBA season.
it was.
I think this was a memorable one.
Yeah.
Uh, you had all the last emphasis of the goats. Who
Yeah.
knows how much longer they'll be? Like for instance, next year we won't have Jason Tatum, Dame
Right.
Lillard, or Halliburton. You
Right.
can
That
start looking at it
definitely
like that.
gives, and they're kind of in that they're not too old, they no longer too young. Tatum is in his prime years, so
Yeah.
we really are witnessing that a real seismic shift, I think, in the
Hmm.
league for sure. And getting
Yeah.
someone like a Tatum out of the way, who's younger than Lillard and younger than Giannis, and so on and so forth, and got a ring. I know Giannis got one. Hoping he get one more one day. I do like the guy, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, the transition is real. You starting to see it in the commercials. I'm excited. I'm excited for the shift over to NBC for real, for real.
Mm.
No, I don't. I have yet to love watching live events on Amazon. That goes for the Kendrick show, the Tyler show,
Okay.
Thursday night football, NBA games, soccer matches. It has not necessarily been a peak experience for me as far as a viewer, but they spending that bread and they are doing it, and on a business level I respect what's happening because they're going to grow. Like they getting a nice chunk of the NBA moving forward.
Right.
I'm happy about the TNT crew, them being able to still like exist and move over to ESPN and all that, because it was like
Yeah.
going nowhere at first,
Well,
but business is business, man. I know that check was cut nicely from Disney / ESPN.
and we'll get to our other topics. We'll go to Europe in a second with our
Right.
topics. But did you see that the NBA cut its ties with Turner, and Turner is no longer going to be running the NBA TV anymore? And
Word? No, I didn't know that either.
yeah,
Whoa.
so NBA and Turner have no more partnership, and so I think that they were talking about MLB Network potentially taking it over, because I want to say MLB Network runs NHL Network
Oh, okay.
and like another one or something like that, or but
Okay.
it's another pro sports league that has a sports network that
Got you.
potentially might take over NBA TV. So no, it's a really big change. Like you said, we're about to get a new group of legends on TV. I'm excited to see like Melo. I'm excited to see what Michael Jordan got to say.
Man.
Jordan's gonna talk next year. You know what I'm saying?
Did you see the stuff where he was like, "No, I'm here to look out for the young players."
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, because he gets it. And now this conversation around ring culture,
yeah,
all
yeah,
these other
yeah.
things. So I think along with however this Ace Bailey thing plays out,
Uh
which
huh.
there's been enough coverage on, we'll monitor that as it goes along. But
Right.
no, this year was a good year. Like you said, next year is gonna be even more exciting. I feel like as the league kind of is like you said, it's maturing and it's growing in front of our eyes,
Mm-hmm.
in a very interesting way. So we got cans to talk about. We got
Yeah,
Paris
yeah,
Fashion
yeah.
Week to talk about.
Yeah, no, and I was like I was saying to you the other day, I mean, I went on the website, obviously work in the industry, you get the emails about what we won, yada yada yada. My network definitely got some good awards and our top execs are proud and all of that stuff, but I went through and looked at a lot of the work, not even necessarily my holding company or my agency, but just in general. I was like, not that impressed. TBH, not that impressed. But that's been me for some years now, really. I So a little bit of a go ahead before we get into it, because you've definitely been in the industry more longer than I have. And I remember before I got in talking to like you or Julian, so on and so forth, I had my apprehensions about the industry. You know, it's overwhelming whiteness, a lot of cornballs in the industry that really don't enjoy culture, and award shows being basically a big circle jerk amongst themselves. And I felt that way because I've been in the industry at least a good 7, 8 of them now. So I probably been feeling that way 10 years. I still
Mhm.
feel the same. I still feel the same. We had a meeting yesterday at my job or whatnot, and we just, department meeting, yada yada yada. One of my peers was also just talking about it because our boss, just doing the pat on the back, the clap, it's still something to be proud of for winning the
Right.
award. So I'm
Mhm.
not gonna act like that has nothing. It to me is very comparable to like the Grammys. People make a big deal about the Grammys and either how it's very prestigious and you really want one, or if your favorite gets snubbed, it's like, what the fuck does the Grammys mean anyway? Don't nobody care about them.
Right.
Da, 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 da,
Right.
da, da. I do not make music, though I am a musician. I DJ. And one day I probably will delve into production. I think a Grammy would still matter to me because it's voted on by your peers. I
Right.
think that's awesome when your
That's
peers, actually show you that sort of love and give even a nod, honestly. Like when Freddie Gibbs was going and Madlib was doing their run and making the case for the Grammy. I love seeing an independent artist do their little like run or whatever to try to like get the nod. Tyler obviously ended up being successful with his or whatnot. I think that shit is still cool, bro. Like I was DJing last night for a musician homie's birthday party, and it was just nothing but other musicians there. And we sat around. I got to play music for people who make music as opposed to like party goers. And they obviously we had fun, but they were, asking like how do you transition? Like when you're looking at a record, you already got something in mind. How you counting when you looking at it? It's like, we all are a community. So I think of Can in the same sort of sense where there is some of that patting on the back. But my colleague, he was asking like, what's the real business case for this shit? Because it does just seem like a bunch of insiders just kind of like good job in one another. It is absolutely that.
Mhm.
But our boss did kind of break down to him. It does look good for business. Agencies care because it can help you bring in more business, but more than that, clients care about that shit. CMOs of Verizon and Disney, they want to go back and say, hey, we won an award for this thing, and it's a creativity award. That being
Mhm.
said, though, and I'll let you rock, I just want to feed the little transition over or whatever. Looking at the reviews, because like I said, I didn't really want to talk so much about the work because a lot of the work is honestly whatever.
Yeah.
the the shift in energy and investment that's happening in the ad industry that I don't think, I mean, we talk about it, but I don't hear a lot of our peers and colleagues talk about it. And the advertising industry is going to look drastically different, definitely within 10, but probably within 3 to 5 years, the way this AI shit is moving. And these tech companies, like I know we were watching, what's his name, like Eugene Brandstrat or whatnot. Shout out to him on IG. He's awesome, great strategist, love the content, super smart dude. But he did like his can recap and he talked about how the big tech logos and parties and booths and everything were at the forefront. And you really had to walk all the way to the back and through the hallways to see the actual agency work.
Right.
For me, I just been kind of thinking about how big tech is actually coming for our food, and they're well equipped for it. Mind you, Amazon has an agency right now that like that's their AOR, and Meta and so on and so forth, but they're literally working very vigorously in order to like eat our food at the same time. Same with the AI situation. Everybody's getting trained on AI or suggested to use AI more, so on and so forth. We're we're getting nudged into our own demise in this industry, and I think that is a more important,
Mm.
because also I know we talked about upfronts. That was a similar situation coming up out of there. A lot of the older media companies and traditional like old media studios, your NBCs, ABCs, yada yada yada, their events were not the sexier ones. It was Amazon talking about Prime Video. It was Hulu and all these other streaming platforms, Netflix, talking about ad spend over there. And we know that people are gravitating towards more of that stuff to consume media and content nowadays. Same with TikTok, Facebook, Meta, yada, yada, yada. So I think that's really the big story, not who the fuck the agency network of the year was or who got the most creative fucking golden lion situation.
The big story is the dominance of big tech.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. At the advertising award festival, big tech got bigger money. Like
Yeah,
Apple got bigger money than a lot of our holding groups for sure.
of course.
Like, they're winning these awards for TV shows. They are producing, like, NBC used to do live concerts from time to time. I got one of my old magazines. It's like Fashion Rocks, and it's like Jamie Foxx and Beyonce on the cover or whatever. Amazon is
Wow.
now live streaming. Like those. Even though I don't necessarily enjoy the experience, everything is well produced on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like that Kendrick show, the Pop Out and the Mr. Morale, fire. Tyler's joint was fire.
Yeah.
Like I do, like I say, I don't necessarily love what they're doing all the way with live sports yet, which is the one last thing that old media kind of has to drive ratings on a consistent basis. You want the Super Bowl, you want the NBA.
Netflix and them are encroaching on
Coming
that.
for it, bro. They
Yeah.
coming for it.
They
So
already
to
here.
me, that's the biggest story. But I'm gonna let you rock.
No, that's a really good point that you make. I think that you make a really good point, and somebody else might have said it in a video that we shared. But what is the future of a creative? And I liken it to add. I guess we have had the advantage to look at different industries and the implementation of technology that has taken away humans,
Yeah.
right? So movies, I'm sure required a lot more people. I know it required more people because now you can do more CGI. So it required more
Mhm.
sets. So it required more art
Mhm.
directors, it required more producers, it required more drivers, it required all these other things. In advertising, the shops will get smaller. The big shops will just be smaller, you
Mhm.
know. And you'll have to have a real point of view on why somebody needs to hire you when we have all these other tools, which was also the case when I came into the industry, which is probably always true to
What
some.
was the thing back then? Was it social media around that time?
I
Because
mean,
that was a seismic shift as well.
it was the advent of social media, and it was just the fact that by the time I graduated from college in 2013. I
Bam.
started
Okay.
an internship in 2013.
Okay.
So that's the rise of Spotify. That's when YouTube, by then YouTube is really taking off. That's the end
Mhm.
of, people feel like, the beginning of the end truly of radio. It's the beginning of the end truly of TV in that sense. Because by 2015, I'm watching
Yeah.
like Stranger Things and stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of that was the beginning of that shift. I didn't know that at the time because I wasn't as experienced, and I wasn't looking at advertising for the money. I was looking at advertising for the things, the commercials, the headlines, right? I
Mhm.
wasn't following the business trends. So to kind of get back on what we're saying, how is AI going to shortcut or change being a creative? And how is, what's the word I'm looking for? Big tech going to continue to influence the advertising industry? I think that goes in ebbs and flows, because I'm sure it was at one point the car industry probably ran it. I can only imagine at the
Mm.
point when cigarettes were really big. I
Mm.
can imagine when these different things come in and out, and like we weren't in the industry, but imagine the cosmic shift of the industry when it was like, all right, y'all, for the first time, we're gonna make emails. All right, y'all,
Oh,
we're going
yeah,
to make digital banners for a website.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That was like, what do you mean? And so I kind of feel like it's a version of that. It's
Mhm.
not the same thing. The email cut people, the this cuts people. It's all about cutting people. That is the name of the game. Me and you are not in advertising because we're the most strategic or the best writers in the world. That's not why we have jobs. And I think
No,
that,
we are good.
though we are good,
No, we are
we
good.
are really good. That is not the sole reason. And that is the nuance within the thing that gives people of color the perseverance to go through the industry. I had a really good conversation, speaking of cans, with Juan Woodbury. You remember Juan? I was watching the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne had like a Breakfast Club court where he was like, there's another content creator
Okay.
pour a bottle that he said he bought at the club, and he just was like, dude didn't ask, basically. So he was like, was I tripping for saying, telling dude that was my bottle? Because then the dude said that Charlemagne was like homophobic and all this other stuff. Point being was that in the thing, Charlemagne was like, yeah, I got set up. Shout out to my homeboy Juan Woodbury. And so I had seen Juan post on IG, and then I hear, I'm like, hey, bro, they talking about you on the Breakfast Club, and he
Right.
for everybody talk about. I don't know what they talk about, but I sent him the clip. I like text him the video. I'm like, this is what people heard. I just happened to be watching it, and then
Right.
I wasn't clicking it because I thought he was gonna talk about you. But Juan throwing those parties with D Nice, right? The access that brands still want to celebrity culture, to now the downslide of influencers with the rise of AI and all these different things or whatever. You still want to be attached to culture. You still want to be attached to what's real. You still want to be attached to what's cool, right? And so cans, if anything, continues to be that. We can take our boss that's not cool out to the party, and he can hear music and feel like he's cool for a second.
Right.
You need those industry things, but what you're talking about is the same thing that the NBA players are talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like NBA All-Stars too busy. We got to go to this. We got to the basketball game, the advertising game.
Club, another club. Yeah.
Brand deals, XYZ, cross collaboration, all these different things. So, yeah, I don't think that, to your point, it's really hard for us to feel wowed by a commercial because everything is a commercial. And when I watch like the streaming service game messed up the media game because now ABC has to sell Marvel.
Yeah.
They're not just making Marvel movies. Like the curtain got closed behind when they made that, because before, we talked about before, they just were selling Disney. They just were selling, but now you can tell, oh no, we're selling Star Wars.
Right.
And so it's somewhat, it loses its purity. And then if you're a child that comes into it, oh well, it's just a big franchise that you kind of came into in a similar way that when we grew up, people talked about Shakespeare almost, or like To Kill a Mockingbird. Like To Kill a Mockingbird might as well have been a franchise when we were growing up, because it had all these, the book, and it had a movie, and then it was controversy, and you just inherit the knowledge of this thing.
Right.
It, you just inherently come into it. And so I think that big tech, social media is now just a channel. And it's starting to lose its bite. And so big tech has to continue to sell. And so since big tech has taken the place of, not taken the place, but has moved into where maybe big print was, like
print, TV,
and broadcast and radio.
Yeah.
Squeezed into an already really tight room. And now that's what you're saying. We can feel the squeeze. Like we can see that there's this big elephant in the room.
Yeah, and it's I'm sorry, what were you about to say?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. No, like I definitely agree with you. Now, the new channels, the new means of getting your shit out there is what big tech owns. Like when I'm talking about big tech right now, it is Meta, which owns Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. It is TikTok, which overwhelmingly is the most popular and fastest still growing like platform for younger people. But there's a shit ton of people over 45 that also use TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a half of the country, and we not even TikTok's largest market,
Right.
uses TikTok in America. We are the largest economy and the most influential on a cultural basis. So that's still a big deal. And I don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen with the TikTok deal no more. It just don't happen. Nobody
They
talks
don't
about
talk about it no
it.
more.
Yeah, that's a typical Trump thing.
Right.
But that is the place where young people go. I was bored the other day and kind of like cooking dinner, and it wasn't nothing on TV, and I didn't feel like listening to nothing on YouTube. So I hopped on Twitch. I have a Twitch account just to kind of see what the kids are doing and what they're talking about. And it happened to be Speed and fucking Kai Cenat. They were just playing like Mario Brothers, and I think it's on the new Switch that just recently
Mm-hmm.
released. I'm sure Nintendo paid for it. If not, they still getting hella money off the streams either way. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Nintendo probably sent them a check because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I sat and just looked for a minute before I got back in on the stove or whatever, and I'm just looking at the comments roll. I'm like, oh, these are kid like they don't. When we talked about there's no third spaces before Twitch, the internet is their
The
third
third
space.
space.
Don't
Yep.
have places for them to go. I think that they should still have physical places. I think kids should be in arts programs and learning crafts or just being able to physically interact with them. We do play dates and things like that for younger kids. By the time they kind of middle school age, we just kind of let them rock. I think we do need
On
to
the internet. They're on the
yeah,
internet.
yeah, we
They're
do
on the
need to
game.
mold them into push them into physical spaces again. It's just good on some maturation and human development shit. Like, go and be awkward and have those moments so you don't remain awkward hiding behind the internet when you're 25 or 30 years old. Because we are raising a generation that's on that type of tip
Gen
nowadays.
Z.
Exactly. We have your Twitters. Twitter is the new newspaper to me. It's
Yeah.
live. I love Twitter, and I'm a news nerd. So I'm going to always go back and refresh my feed a few times throughout the day, rain, hail, sleet, or snow, because it's always something going on. I just am into that sort of stuff. Like you say, radio, streaming is massive. Radio is still big. We work in the game. So, you get those pitches every year from the people that want you to license on
Right.
this and the third and da. And they come with their stats, and I go look them up, and like they exist. Like millions of people have cars in America. The
Yes.
radio's not going anywhere. It's still
It's so many kitchens and restaurants where the radio is just on.
yeah, exactly. So it's still, and people sometimes get tired of streaming or having to change songs or listen to that same damn playlist over and over. So radio is still important. But when you do have a massive thing like a Spotify or Apple Music that's sitting right there, or SoundCloud, things it's just way too many options. So the traditional ones are having a hard time. I think they need to hire younger talent that like can bring some new perspective and some fresh, innovative, sometimes risky. It's high risk, high reward type of things, but they should do that if they want to stick around, because those are the things big tech are going to do. To your point, as you were saying, like these shops will get smaller. AI is going to take a lot of those jobs. When I read the article about Mark Zuckerberg wanting to basically take over the advertising industry and become the new one, a lot of those things I wasn't worried about myself. It's like, oh, y'all don't have no me's and Ryans and Julians and Juans over there or anything like that right now. But what they can do is fucking precision, like target advertisements to you. And that's the thing. I think we're still in this very like KPI performance marketing driven kind of like ethos right now in the industry. And there's talks about getting back into brand marketing and focusing on longer term relationships, things like that, storytelling, really building that shit out. That's where I think we always should have been. I hate talking about KPIs. And then motherfuckers choose the wrong KPIs at the time because we want to choose an influencer with 100,000 followers on Instagram, but the engagement is low nowadays because everything is low. You are better off getting a micro influencer who's highly engaged and the comments is popping and gets a lot of shares, but you still worried about trying to cast a wide net and hoping everything gonna come through. Them comments be dry. I
Come
worked
to
on
address.
projects and I'd be like, bro, we did this wrong. And I said we was gonna do it wrong. And what happened was that. So Facebook, they're gonna get those same Nike assets for the Air Max Day, and they're gonna target market it using AI to like shift colors and models and things like that, and bounce those ads over when you hop onto something. Like they are going to make a lot of money through that. I
Yeah.
don't see that's performance marketing shit. KPIs, some clicks. They can probably optimize that on Amazon, so on and so forth. I don't see them doing proper capital A agency work of real storytelling and things like that. And it might happen. They can afford.
But that's what I'm saying though. What you're talking about and what they do currently is media buying.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
is not so yeah, I guess that you wouldn't need the media buying company as much because you could just go like before you couldn't just go to CBS and it's starting to get that way now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you could like you would do a big buy with Viacom
Right.
and you would go to Viacom or then you would go to Turner or you would then circumvent it and say, I'm gonna go to Spectrum, I'm gonna go to Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. Like the social media tech companies now, they are just like big broadcast companies in that way. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And so what they have is they just give CBS would pay, or let's say NBC. NBC would pay Dick Wolf to make Law and Order, where now the social media platforms pay you to continue to post on their site.
Right, 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 right.
It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's literally the same thing because at the end of the day, you want people to watch it.
Right,
Because
right,
people
right,
watch Left
right,
Law and Order because they're watching small time creators, they're watching reels, they're watching us, right? We're watching
right,
each other more.
right.
And so something else that you were talking about though, that kind of goes into cans, and I feel like what's going on in fashion and music and advertising, what
Mm-hmm.
you were describing really in what Facebook and AI with Meta and AI and all of them really are doing is what's it called? Vibe marketing. That's what you're describing.
Yeah, that's the one reason
That's
why
what you're
I'm not.
describing.
Yeah, I'm not. I am not so afraid. I think that the shift is inevitable. It is imminent, and I
Yes.
think there are a lot of people.
We are a part of the shift.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah, yeah.
are
There are
in
a
the
lot of people who
shift.
should be concerned about it because, yes, all right, say for you or Jordan or something like that. Y'all are code copywriters. You have that particular cultural nuance. You know how to write a proper ad and get a campaign rolling the way that it's supposed to hit.
Mhm.
It's a lot of ad work that is not the new Asia Wilson commercial, the new
Right.
the promo, the opening of the NBA season, yada. Like those, I love a good culture brand for a reason. We love culture. We are culture makers, so that's one thing. But for fucking Prudential, they're trying to use generative AI to do the copywriting and art direction after the assets are built out just to kind of stack them and like target and bam, bam,
But
bam, and
see,
get that to
even
see.
but that's a good example though because there are going to be certain brands that works for
Mm-hmm.
because it's like they don't have their. You have to start to do B2B like B2C now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, if you're Prudential, your clients are these people. You have stores or you have storefronts where people can go open up Prudential accounts and do whatever, and that interaction. But they don't. I mean, the shit is so normalized now. It's like all the banks say the same thing.
Yeah.
They all pretty much sell the same thing. You actually really don't. I mean, you do need a person. You need a couple of people
Mm-hmm.
to do this work.
Mm-hmm.
It is regenerative work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for
You know
sure,
what I'm
for
saying? It
sure.
is regenerative work. And so that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, even that, like you just brought up the Asia Wilson thing. I love there are no bad, and this is not a critique on like the people who made the stuff or like who make anything now. But like it's kind of like why Sinners worked
Mm-hmm.
because it was original, not necessarily the idea of vampires and black people singing songs,
Right, right,
but
right.
the idea, right? It's the who did it. It's an idea because who did it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go see
Mm-hmm.
Superman because James Gunn did it.
Right, right,
You know,
right,
you
right,
want to go see Batman because Christopher Nolan did it.
right,
You want to
right,
go, you know what I'm saying? Like that is why, not because the idea of superheroes or movies is interesting. You
right,
want to see Tom Cruise jump out of a plane.
right. But you know what Christopher Nolan and the Tom Cruise is though as well, right?
What?
They're brands. Like that. That's the shift to brand market. More people gonna have to build good brands. Essentially,
Right.
like if your brand is not strong, if you not, if your name not getting chirped about in the streets in actual conversations, then it
And
doesn't matter.
people confuse that. Young people, this is a lesson here.
Mm-hmm.
People say I have to get my name out there, and
Mm-hmm.
they look to social media to get their name out there instead of doing the thing really well.
Yes. Yeah.
Coco Golf has a big social media platform, not because she's good at social media.
Right. 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 Right.
Right,
Right.
basketball players, sports athletes have fallen into that. Musicians have fallen into that.
Right.
Now
Right.
you're really great at social media, but you're not that great at music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And so, like, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for your career? What does that mean for the industry? I think that, and I'll transition into hip hop here. We at the 30-minute mark. Uh, everybody is so appreciative of the Clips rollout, right?
Yeah, it's been an ongoing topic for us, but it's been that good that every week is something new that they done did
Standard,
that's
but it's so
worthy. Yeah.
standard though.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Mm-hmm.
standard. It's
It's
just
refreshing as well, though. It's refreshing because
it,
you don't see
it's
people doing it how they doing it
it's
for.
refreshing because now you know this is real.
Mm-hmm.
My gripe with Kendrick Lamar
Okay.
before Mr. Morale,
Okay.
before
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Morale was like, you taking so much time off and you're allowing goofiness to reign supreme.
Right.
I know you know this shit is goofy. If I think it's goofy, I know you think it's goofy. You know what I'm saying? I'm a participant,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not at the center of participation like how you are.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so allowing that, this misperception to kind of build up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was nice to see him be the person to knock it all down and for us to redig and kind of stabilize and redraw lines. That's
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. We're like redrawing lines on what's real and what's not real.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
so now you see Pusha T and 52-year-old Malice. He was dropping flawless. He's dropped 32 lines of flawless rapping. And you're reminded that quality actually matters.
You're not
You're,
even cussing, is he?
huh?
You're not even cussing, right? I
No,
think he
no
not. Yeah, I don't think he
cusses.
said no cuss words either.
Clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
A flawless, clean 32 bars and still talking bird talk.
Mm-hmm.
Don't turn the other cheek. You'll die at the Oscars. What do you say? Some shit.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know what
But
I'm saying?
it's a real line.
And so I'm just like, man, until now, right? This culture that people say is not relevant. Because now I
Mhm.
finally understand what Pharrell, why Louis V hired Pharrell. I have the answer for you here. I'm gonna give
What
it to
is
you.
it?
I watched Paris Fashion Week in a different way than I have in the past because I'm
Okay.
about to get on some shit.
Okay.
And so I'm just watching it, just watching more. I really liked Dior's J.W. Anderson.
Yeah,
That shit was
yeah, no.
clean.
Big Johnny came through, did his
That
thing.
shit was
Said, "Time
clean.
out." R.I.P. Basquiat, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Dior shit. It was somebody else. Saint Laurent's shit
Mm,
was really nice. They had like the
mm-hmm,
water shot and they was walking around the thing. That shit was fire.
mm-hmm,
Saw a lot of just stuff, just watching, you know. And so when you watch Louis Vuitton, what I realized is what our house did is like in advertising, they just hire a black creative director, right? And so when you hire a black creative director, the most radical thing you can do as the black creative director is to do something black.
right, right,
The
right.
easiest way to do that is through music,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I watch these other shows, I'm like, yeah, maybe this show has cooler silhouettes. They're more creative.
Mm-hmm.
But this is super far. This is not. This is for a particular group.
Yeah.
This is for a particular the music, the this, the this, the this, and that. And then you go to Louis V, and it's Beyonce and Jay-Z and Steve Harvey and Future. Very
Mm-hmm.
similar to when I watched Amiris too.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
similar when I watch Amiris, you know what I'm saying? And it's the reason people want to have you is because damn, Mars gonna show up in a cool t-shirt. He's gonna
Right, right, right.
it's just gonna add this accessibility to it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, from that standpoint, Pharrell was the perfect person to do it because I understand why Kanye is upset and he deserves to be upset because he is correct. He deserved that job before Virgil.
Yes.
When I
Yes.
look back at the gripes and the things that he says now, he says that they hired all my team. They took my whole team away from me instead of somebody empowering me to keep my team. And then we leave and disperse at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just shot himself in the foot though.
No, he's the reason why they didn't hire him. I'm
Yeah,
not
like
saying
he
that, but
did
I'm
it to
saying
himself,
I
but I get
understand.
it. Yes.
And he was right from the standpoint of, man, fuck all that. The 3 seasons he would have gave you would have been the best 3 seasons you would
Yeah,
have had in
yeah,
a
yeah.
decade.
No, for sure.
From that standpoint, I feel him because it's like, well, whatever. People be crazy all the time.
Right, 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 right,
You got the
right.
first
I
crazy
think we just in an era where obviously social change, Me Too's, and
life changed on him.
calling out like terrible bosses. Like I don't like the fact that Tom Sachs and Nike still have their relationship after his controversy, but
Right,
it's a thing, and we ain't got to go into race and privilege, but there
right,
are, you can see when one motherfucker get a pass and another motherfucker don't. And
right.
Kanye did not. He probably burnt too many bridges tweaking out. And then
To
doing
get
the
the
MAGA
pass.
thing when fashion is always going, it's going to be progressive and queer and artsy and all these other very inclusive. At when that shift happened, which we know fashion used to be mad racist as well, but they hired people and brought people in on that side to do the hard, dirty work of being authentically inclusive in a way that I don't think a lot of other industries have done. Still a lot of work that needs to be done, obviously, but I think fashion is probably one of the post woke kind of like
Yeah,
sectors that has done that very well and don't have to be like, oh, well, Trump in office, well, we got to give this shit up now. You didn't care in the first place if that's the case. But the
right.
people who make fashion, the fashion parties, the trends, the looks, all of that hit are marginalized people. It's never been the rich white aristocracy ever,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah.
But at least within the modern era of, I'll just say, post Anna Wintour Vogue, we'll just call it that because I could really go 50, 60 years back. We'll just go the last 30, 40 years, though. It's always been us. It's been hip hop. It's been, fucking Debbie Harry in punk rock. It's been,
Tupac and Versace.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The Strokes wearing early Hedy Slimane suits and shit like that. And that brings in what eventually becomes a skinny suit, which then becomes a skinny jean, which then become, so you get those Devil Wears Prada kind of like tiptoe moments. But it's really been fashion. It's really been fashion that's done that the best.
And it's always been the cross. And so that to me is why Pharrell was actually the perfect hire.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it goes back to my point. I literally said it earlier, and I wasn't saying it to make the point that I'm making now.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't hire us because we're the best technical person. That's not the
Right,
hire.
right, right, right,
It's
right.
not the hire. That's not the thing. It's the intangibles. It's the other things. It's the knowledge. It's the wisdom. It's the understanding. You know what I'm saying? And looking at what he's doing and just comparing it to the other people, the vibe, the thing, I see the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it's not meant to be that. Because
Right,
if you want that innovation, well, you go to the innovative brands.
right, right,
You
right,
go to where innovation is being prioritized.
right, right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? That is not the game that they're playing. It's like if
right.
McDonald's today hired a black creative director, it would that alone speaks for itself. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because of social media, we have taken for granted how few of us it is in these sectors, how
Yeah.
few doctors it is, how few lawyers it is, how few of
Mm-hmm.
everything that it is. When you're talking about the lost tribe of Shabazz, talk about African
Right,
American,
right, right, right,
black
right,
people, like we had the last
right, right.
conversation, right?
It's not a lot of us in any of these
It's not a
industries.
lot of us. And
Yeah.
so, I think that we have taken that for granted, and you get into your bubbles and you're a Greek black, or you're a college educated black, or we're the
Right,
cool
right,
black
right.
people in advertising, and we feel like
Mhm.
it's all of us. When no,
Right,
it's
right,
really just y'all. It's just us.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's that kind of a thing. So
Mhm.
I just noticed that just watching that, like the use of just hip hop and the slight of black culture is enough to distinguish them, even if it's
Right,
not the most innovative thought.
right. No, that's a good point. I think Louis Vuitton can afford to do that because, if I'm not mistaken, they own Dior. Like they're the large Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy is the world's largest luxury conglomerate. So you
Exactly.
can have your marquee namesake brand kind of be the big come one come all umbrella that the Happy Man Pharrell Williams already is, and you can get your Jonathan W's to go over to Dior and get into the technical bag. It's still going to be like Dior is still a cultural powerhouse in and of itself, but there is no larger luxury brand than Louis Vuitton. That's just how the sales already turn out, you know.
Mhm.
So I that is true. My thing is, I don't know where they're going to go after the Pharrell leaves. I don't know if they're going to choose another black designer again. There's obviously going to be talks about it, but I don't know because where the rest of the fashion industry, I will say that though they have done it the best, I do see a little bit of a pendulum swing happening behind the forefront of models and runway representation and incorporation of hip hop, of hiring more white talent again and things of that nature. That is that also an ongoing thing that's happening. And these are still rich white elites, the same way MAGA and all the shit in America from a socio-political thing is happening. It's
Mhm.
also happening in France. It's also happening in London or the UK. It's also happening, in Antwerp and Berlin. And
Everywhere.
there's a big pushback and an anti-immigration pro-traditionalist, pro-nativist like movement that's also happening over in Europe as well. So it's inevitable, like we're doing this pushback on immigration right now. That Supreme Court ruling really sucked about birthright citizenship, stuff like that. It wasn't deemed unconstitutional or constitutional. They kind of just gave Trump enough extra room and executive power for him to like push his agenda through. So
Right.
this week, and he's definitely going to like go as far as he can with that for sure.
Mhm.
But like at the end of the day, America's changing. You can try to kick out as many immigrants as you want. You're not going to kick out all of them. You can't kick out all of them. The white population is still declining, and the tanning of America is still happening. Fucking Europe, all of these fucking countries over there went all over the world, colonized these nations, destroyed them, toppled their government, changed their way of living, extracted all of their resources. So now they have no economic power. So yeah, of course, if I can't live in the Congo or Senegal, where the hell else am I gonna go? I'm gonna take my ass over to Paris. I'm gonna take my ass over to Rome. I'm gonna go to London where there's opportunity. People are going where opportunity is. And when you've robbed them of the opportunity in their way of life back home, they have no choice but to go somewhere where something else can actually be done for them. That's why people are risking their lives, walking thousands of miles on by foot to get an opportunity to just have some fucking running water and a decent job for you, and your kids can get an education so they can actually go be something. I understand the immigrant plight, but I also know whose fault it is that all of this shit existed in the first place, bro. So all of that to just say the pushback or to try to like slow down and deter and kind of like wean off of DEI or whatever the hell that somebody wants to call it these days, it's not going to change the fact that change is inevitable in the world. Africa at the end of the century will still be the most populous continent in the world with the youngest average age. They already got the youngest average age. And there's plenty of time. Hopefully, a little bit of the corruption and coup overthrowing bullshit can kind of get taken down and chopped down a little bit. There's still a high unemployment rate. But the two things that young people have is ideas and time, bro. And fucking a third for energy.
Yeah.
Things will change. That's inevitable. And I don't know. I mean, we just saw what happened up in New York and all of that. Mom
Yeah.
Donnie did his thing. or whatnot. And you had shared the tweet with me or whatnot. I had saw it the other day, like the comparison of the old and the new. And I love it just because I'm a history nerd, politics nerd, strategy nerd, yada 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 yada. But like I was saying to you, though I do agree, I probably just wouldn't say that old people are the problem. I think that
Right.
that's where kind of like, because old people just have different things that they're invested in that they need to also look out for voting. They do need to protect
Priorities.
generational health with their homes and mortgages. While we are fighting to be able to get our first ones, they're trying to keep the ones that they have. And I can't get mad at my grandma because I know when she passes away, also my name is on the wheel. You know, so it's a weird thing. My gripe is always with the 1%, bro. We need to be taxed. They already steal taxes, have tax loopholes, all this other stuff. The money that they rob us of, that they don't pay or get approved and allowed to underpay on, could absolutely eradicate a lot of the problems that we have in America alone. Elon Musk has enough wealth that he could still be one of the world's richest men and get rid of global fucking world hunger. Like, it's too much money at the top without, if anything, benefit. I get it if you're the CEO of the biggest company in the world, whatever. I don't even want to get into billionaire conversation today. But so what? You're that person. That don't mean that you don't need to help out the less fortunate. The Medicis was the ones that was funding Da Vinci and all of them. We got some of the most beautiful art in the world. It still stands up to this day. It's still powerful and influential and used to this day. But that was the wealthy aristocracy of the time giving back to people who did not have anything and empowering them to do something powerful and special. And that's not happening no more. I know they talk a little bit about, you know, lack of education for tech bros nowadays. They don't appreciate the arts the way that when maybe Sony was on the rise. Like, we were still getting taught, you know, art in school. It was emphasized. Creativity was a thing. It's a reason why we got so much innovation. Mark Zuckerberg has not actually created a successful product. That's why I'm also not too worried. I understand his philosophy, and I think there will be some significant business shifts. But if you take away Facebook, which arguably he didn't make that either. He did not invent Instagram.
Right.
He did not invent WhatsApp. Whenever he wanted to buy TikTok, TikTok said, no, fuck you. We think that we could be big ourselves. They took a hit, but he didn't kill them, because young people and a lot of people still do use Snapchat to this day. But what he did was he invented stories after that, because if you can't beat them, you join them. He tried to buy TikTok. TikTok said, no, fuck you. We gonna be that shit ourselves, and we know who we are. All right, well, fuck it. I'm gonna start doing reels on my shit there. Come at y'all. Da, da, da. So these things just end up becoming like what every other platform has as well. But they're all stealing ideas, bro. It ain't no innovation coming out of big tech. That's why they all are going and running to Trump right now to get a fucking government contract to get into the military world, which I'm worried about what Halliburton and Boeing think of that. Are they gonna like, those are the people who, if you want to get into assassination conspiracy theories, them be the people that be behind them. So I don't know what's happening with the big money folks, but the change is inevitable. And I hope Palantir doesn't take over the world and they really do combine everybody's ID number, health information, and banking info into these profiles, but they're working on that.
That seems to be what is next. That seems inevitable. To your point, we didn't have maybe all the biometrics, but we've always been identified and identifiable. And that's why our citizenship has always meant so much in the landscape of the world, because it actually is viable, our ID. You know, you talk a lot about like Zuckerberg's lack of execution, maybe. Innovation.
Well, we can say execution too, because them VR headsets also a failure.
But I was watching,
cell phone failed.
And I was watching the All In podcast, and I don't agree with everything that they talk about, because I think that them as like the 1%, they still, their God is still like whiteness.
All In, money. All In. I know this name. Who are the hosts of All In?
It's like Chamath, who started Google. Sachs, who is the dude that Trump picked for his, and it's like Yeah, just these super
Okay,
rich white
okay, okay, okay.
guys. Yeah, they got like one of the biggest podcasts. But Sharmoff was talking about Apple, which made me think when you were talking
Okay.
about Facebook, and it's like he's basically saying, yeah, they're stalled out. You know, their products, their growth is only based off of the iPhone, no new innovation, no other hardware. They got the app store that they make regenerative money off of, but very similar in a way that I feel like Meta is like. And so, how long before somebody makes an innovation that's just sitting in the garage like they used to be, like Steve Jobs was? You know, maybe they'll still be rich people potentially. You know what I'm saying? But that next wave, and I'm hoping, like you said, that it's inevitable, that it's coming, and that's why it's hard to like overreact to what's going on in the industry, because there's always something
It's
going on in
always
the
a
industry.
new idea somewhere, bro. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's always something going on. And so, yeah, man, I think having been outsiders, having been people that try to make their name and creativity and in the industry, I guess, not attached to an agency, we always have like a sense of paranoia and suspicion, and I guess willingness to get it out the mud, as they say. You know, but our industry, all the creative industries, are just kind of upside down to me right
And the
now.
layoffs also show
And
that as well.
yeah, it's always going to be layoffs. It's always going to be all that. I like to think about and how much mediocrity is out
Another
there.
reason I didn't pay attention to them Cannes Award winners. You gonna see play 66
And
in the same campaign.
mediocrity in the sense of like you said, like I'm not saying that we're the best strategists and the best writers again, but because of who we are and because of where we come from, we had to be damn good to even be considered. And so mediocrity was just never really in our wheelhouse. And so the industry is, the cream rises to the top. You know what I'm saying? And it's doing what it always does, and it's just doing it in a different way now. And so I'm actually really excited for where music is going. I'm really actually excited for where film is going. I know they're making less films. I know they're doing less stuff like that. But I think that we're on a change, because I don't think that, like, in my opinion, like Marvel and the superhero run that it was on is flattened out and it's about to fall. And so I think that original IP is going to come around and take a swing, and or we're going to get better at remakes. Like, I was watching, now I'm totally going on a tangent here. I was watching Jaws. No. Yeah, I watched Jaws 3 with
The old school
Alexia.
joints.
The
Okay,
old
okay.
school Jaws. Ain't no new Jaws to
Yeah,
my
no, there are other
knowledge.
shark movies, but yeah.
Yeah, like Shark. Yeah, but no,
Okay,
Jaws
okay.
3. And it was in the
Yeah,
80s.
that shit's it.
Like Dennis Quaid, and basically a shark got into SeaWorld and havoc happened, right? And so now when you look at like what people thought the 80s were, we're back there in 2025. Disneyland, all these different things. Sign up, put your fingerprint on here when you're going to Disneyland, so we know the biometrics, so Mickey Mouse can have your DNA for whatever reason. I don't know. And all these different things, and AI now, and all these playgrounds. And it's like, yeah, that dystopian thing that we've always looked at. Like when you watch Black Mirror now, it's not as good because we're here.
Yeah.
Not as good. Like, oh, you can put the thing on. It's like, oh, we're kind of already there. This is not as good, really. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Which is cool for a show to catch up to society like that. But yeah, man, I'm not afraid of the future. I feel like being in real life and being able to sit the fuck down and live how Black people and Hispanic people have already lived in this world by just being with community and just being on the block, it's gonna be more advantageous.
Yeah,
And it's just gonna,
but I do think there is concern when they start putting cameras up on our corners and still monitoring our activity, because that does happen.
I guess they already
I
been
know,
doing
and
that.
people
To
have
me,
pushback on it. People protest that stuff, and they hit it and knock it
Patriot
down
Act.
and do all other types of stuff. I mean, shout out Chomsky, but like, you know, we have manufactured the consent in order for them to do all of that stuff. That doesn't mean that just because it's normalized, it's okay. We need to be cutting back on government surveillance, as far as I'm concerned. You know, we need to.
Yeah.
I don't, for the government to have people's medical fucking cases, or even like you say, go to Disney World and bam, now they got your biometrics. They're selling that data off to a company that will exploit that from you, exploit your fears, your
Right.
insecurities. It knows you're sick, and it now can geolocate you, so you can be walking down Rodeo Drive, and it knows that you're on a diet. And now, like, it's predatory in nature to like do something
In
like that,
nature.
to geotag.
Because they are
Yes,
predatory.
exactly.
They could easily, to your point, do those things and help me maintain my
Mm-hmm.
health and help me
They rather
learn
sell
when I
some
should
shit
try to
off
have a
to another
child.
company, and
And
explain like,
but instead,
yeah, like
yeah.
that was
Shout out to
still one of the
Henrietta Lack.
craziest things. I read an article a while ago, and I talked to people. It wasn't necessarily about the same thing, but basically, Amazon sometimes knows you're pregnant before you know that you're pregnant. And I think that that is crazy to think about, because it access to your data and it's watching your patterns. Typically, somebody might have said, I missed a period, or, I'm having cramps or whatever. It knows you're a woman already, you know.
Okay, but hold on. This is a good conversation because now I'm gonna be like conspiracy
Okay.
old man. What is the difference though? Like, okay, where do you draw that line? Because I guess like I know I use Face ID,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. And then like for my mom, for instance, right? I'm just giving like a generational thing, how we get more and more
Mm-hmm.
lax. Like my grandma never would pay her bills
Mm-hmm.
online. My mom just now can kind of get into the idea of
Right,
Cash
right,
App
right, right, right.
and kind of like link in a bank account and kind of I do
Right.
everything online. So I guess if they just want to steal everything, you know what I'm saying? So to me, it's kind of like, damn, like, why would my
Mm-hmm.
son not just feel like, oh yeah, well, it's no, I got my Apple Watch, they can know I this and I sleep. I agree with you that they could be using it for predatory
They
things.
are
You know what I'm
using it
saying?
for
But they
yeah,
are using it for
that's
predatory
the thing.
things. But
It
I'm saying
could
like,
be.
where do you draw the like? Where should we stop?
I
Like,
don't
where
know.
do we
I mean,
stop?
and that's
I don't know
that's
where
why
we
this
stop.
shit is always so cyclical to me, because we can't make those laws and those sort of regulations. We need elected officials. That's why politics, it's always going to be something, because it still correlates with the other shit that we're talking about. And it really is all
Right.
intertwined. And then big tech will lobby and donate to your elected officials. So now the elected, that we fight right now. The Mamdani shit is billionaires in the business class trying to fight against people organizing just so they can have an affordable city to live in the richest city in the country.
Yeah.
It should not be this
In the
controversial
world.
or contentious, but it
This is
is.
the best city. We're talking about the best
Yeah,
city
yeah,
in the
absolutely,
world.
bro. And people just
Arguably.
trying to survive, and it's very hard to survive in New York. So
We know it's damn near actually impossible. And we know that it's actually impossible because the people surviving
yeah,
are in debt.
yeah,
So technically they're actually not
yeah, yeah,
surviving.
exactly. So
Like if you really wanted to get like technical about it, they're actually not surviving.
unless you get to that threshold where you like really rich for real, and they do have the highest
Yeah.
concentration of millionaires and billionaires in the world. But yeah, the
Right.
disparity is just, it's crazy, bro. So I'm I guess the thing is, there needs to be a consciousness on a voter, on a consumer level, to push back, one, against the companies and brands, as well as put fire up under our elected officials from being able to allowing this bullshit to happen. Because like you said, it's no
Yeah.
it's not could, it's a thing. That's like when they talk about the dynamic pricing at the grocery store. That's stuff that's already out there, and some people do are allowed to pay a little bit less while other people are paying more. That's so, like, I would never want to go shop at a grocery store where the person that grabs some eggs before me paying $2.50, but I gotta pay $3.50. Like, that's
Yeah.
actually a wild concept, and it's nothing but greed and a desire for more power that's driving these decisions from these corporations. So when we're talking about one of the seven deadly sins with greed, and then power, absolute power corrupts absolutely, I just see us going down it's a dark hole. We're already in a dark space. I'm not necessarily
Yeah.
afraid of the future, so I feel you in that. I think that we gonna be all right. And
I
like
know
how
what
you said,
you're
like
saying.
we could close this shit and just stand on the block. But that's why I mentioned the block's still watching you. The cop, you can smoke a blunt. It's legal in, where we at. But if you want to smoke a blunt on the block and they want to get on some stop and frisk shit, which there's still a large amount of states around the country and cities that are on that, yeah, if they wanted to, they could literally be like, what these young niggas, what they doing on the block, we gonna push them, pat them down. Oh,
Well,
you got possession of this, and throw you in jail. That has happened already. So we are like you said with Black Mirror, we already in it. It's the same thing with all of this like kind of conspiratorial shit. It don't always look like what a whack job like Alex Jones's imagination paints up, but
right, right.
we are living in a reality where, yeah, that's just from an ethical perspective. Amazon should know that you're pregnant before you know that you're pregnant, bro. It just should, and it's only
Right.
there to make more money off of you. But someone's app, your Apple Watch data sold over. It knows your metrics, your temperature change a little bit. Maybe you missed your cycle. You got the period tracking app for that. You realize that, bam, all of that data gets sold, and then when you hop on for Amazon Prime Day coming up, now they throwing baby stuff your way or diapers or pregnancy tests so they can profit off of it. That is unethical to me, at least.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Like, as people, where do we draw that line within our homes? Is kind of what I was saying too. Cause I'm like, yeah, son, I'll allow you to do this, but I don't want you to
Right,
do
right,
this.
right.
I'll allow you to watch this. It's kind of that, it's that same censorship that you have to have. You have to have it even more. And like, and I'm saying that because the people after us, because it's become so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
more
It's just
normalized.
whatever at that point. You got them because it's just
It's
like,
just
oh, that's just what we
normalized.
do.
Like, it's like taking pictures. My mom don't put no pictures on the internet 20 years ago, and
Now,
now
now they got
she's po-
ghetto AI influencers.
now they got
Like,
ghetto YN. Talk to the YN chat.
an amalgamation of all of our fucking selfies we posted on Instagram, and Meta sold that data over, or they're using their proprietary AI. And so those things are concerning
Losers.
because I mean, those are industries and infrastructures that are built up. Like, my last presentation when we worked together was about influencers, and I said, this is shit. It's just a bunch of people that are walking billboards, and it's not going to hold up forever. A couple years later, we went from the big influencers to having to emphasize the smaller ones because the metrics were starting to get wonky. Now, at this point, hell, I just got back on my personal IG page. My story views is significantly down just because I probably wasn't posting for real, for real. My first one, I was like, y'all miss me. Boomed. Everything else, when I started doing consistently, trash. It's just like, damn. But
Trash.
I know if I was to spend $20 on Facebook, send $20 to Meta, my shit a juke, and that's fucked up because, yeah, I don't know. Going to the party last night or whatever, because I know we getting close to the end and just talking to everybody. That's also a part of the conversation we were having. It's like, this is the stuff, like the kickbacks and all of those things were smaller, more contained, and it feels like community and us interacting in person. I think one is healthier for us to do that than to be stuck scrolling online all day, doom scrolling or groom scrolling either. But we need that because one thing I've learned is that social media, though it's been a lot of good that's come from it, and it's awesome to be able to hop on a story and see somebody get proposed to or somebody's baby born or a house being bought. All this, I'm genuinely happy for people. So I love to see that stuff. But on the flip side, when they figured out with the algorithm and they make more money perpetuating division and argument as opposed to trying to solve problems and bring people together, and you're driven by profit, so you're going to make more money with all the negative, ignorant bullshit that's on these platforms than you do the positive stuff. The positivity be fucking laughing babies and cat videos at this point. Everything else is fucking
Right.
the right versus the left and DEI and da 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 da. They're making a shit ton of money, so there's no incentive for them to do anything good. We have to kind of wean off of that stuff, and yeah, we honestly have to just have conversations about it. I don't know how to raise a child yet, as I'm not a dad, but I know that I will impose some restrictions on my kids. I will regulate my household. I just saw one of my class up under me, high school folks or whatnot. She was just posting about her kids. They've been out of school 2 weeks. They bored already. She's sitting on her porch, kids playing in the background. Like the first week they was in camp. They was over their auntie house. They was in camp all that week. Bam. This week you over my place, but we had activities and things to do. They're talking about they bored so they could sit down and watch TV, bro. So they can watch TV. Yeah. She had them obviously outside. But it's like, no, you're gonna read a book. You can watch TV, but I'm not gonna plop you down on the TV which we used to refer to as the idiot box, and have your brain get
Right.
numbed. Like, it just go play. Like, their cognitive ability develops when you're using a stick and building random shit outside. You become a better person in your social life when you're walking the neighborhood with your group of friends and whatever social dynamics kids have that go from the classroom to the schoolyard to the neighborhood. You develop. And obviously, we kind of need to make our children a little more resilient nowadays. I'm very big on like mental health awareness and all that, but there's a lack of resiliency and like cognitive ability that we already know researchers and doctors have talked about already. We now, I think, on a people level, have to do stuff, and that's why I fuck with Mom Donnie and whatever the wave of all this new democratic socialist shit is too, because change is inevitable, and it's now in our hands, bro. Across business, across politics, across community. They always asking where the barbecue at every damn holiday, but it ain't that many brothers that know how to grill no more. It's like we the parents now.
We the grillers. No, I hosted Thanksgiving at
I'm
my
hip,
house. So,
but just more in a general sense,
No, I know what you're saying though. Like, no, that's why I did it, because I was like, shit, somebody got to do it. I got to do it. Damn, you know what I'm saying? Damn, it's me. So it's like, yeah, man. But nah, man. So this was a good talk for sure. You know what I mean? Got a little European talk in. It's gonna be a hot summer. I can already tell. You know. But I'm excited. You know, summers in America are always exciting.
Yeah, it's always some shit. I tell you that.
It's always exciting. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Well, till next time, y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll holler at y'all. Peace out.
Man.